Helo, enw fi yw Delyth Jewell ac mae'n bleser gen I anerch eich cynhadledd. My name is Delyth Jewell and I'm delighted to address your conference. I am the chair of the Senate's cross-party group on intergenerational solidarity, and I know that a lot of what you're going to be discussing in the conference will be fed back to us as a group and will really enrich the work that we are doing, because what you're going to be discussing is going to be so vitally relevant to the work of so many of members of the group. It's a pleasure to address you when this is your first in-person conference for so many years. I think that when we reflect on the experiences that so many of us have had over the past few years, over the experience of the pandemic, it's really something to celebrate and to find joy in, that things like this are actually able to happen in person again. So I'm so sorry that I can't be with you on the day itself. Now, there's going to be lots of exciting talks, I know, on language, on transport, on work, health, retirement, cognitive impairments and loneliness and isolation. I'm looking down to make sure that I'm not missing out any of the main themes that are going to be covered. Now, the work that the Centre for Ageing and Dementia Research does, of course, is world leading. What's being done in Wales really is spearheading so much work for the rest of the world. It's wonderful to be learning from the expertise that's in that room, and really it's going to be feeding in so much to what happens in the Senedd, well, in rooms across Wales and across the UK where decisions about ageing are going to be made. Now, it was actually the COVID pandemic that had brought me into touch with the work that so many of your members are actually doing. I had been troubled early in the COVID pandemic about the tone of the debate, about the fact that so many newspaper columnists, commentators were talking about older people, people with underlying health conditions, as though somehow that made their lives not as worth saving as other people. And this really ageist tone in the narrative had really concerned me. I was also concerned by some policy decisions that had centred around care homes. But I remembered seeing a television programme some years ago that had been on Channel 4. I think it was, I can't remember what the name of the programme was now, but it was about a group of school children, quite young school children, going into a care home, and how the young children and the older people in the care home had learnt from one another. There were lots of, that they had different projects where they were watching chicks hatch and watching the chicks' development. There were art projects, and it was just such a wonderful celebration of intergenerational learning, of connections. And I had a meeting with the Housing Association Havod and learned about some of the projects that they are doing that link together schools and care homes, and they put me in touch with the fantastic Deborah Morgan, and she put me in touch with lots of other people who were really involved in this work, and we started speaking to the Office of the Older People's Commissioner, and we decided that there needed to be a cross-party group in the Senedd to look at all of the amazing work that's happening across Wales in this area, and to try and bring, I don't know, more of the focus of the Senedd onto what's happening, and to see if there was any way that we could try and take that forward politically in a cross-party way. And that's how the cross-party group on intergenerational solidarity was born. And it's such an inspiring group of people. We meet on Teams, but we actually, a number of us got together recently in the Senedd, and that was the first time lots of us had actually seen one another in person. So that was quite exciting, because normally you just see like this, you just get used to seeing only this part of people's bodies. And when we have these meetings, people are in parts across Wales, and you just get used to seeing familiar faces. Then we get new people joining us from different places as well. People involved in the student community, people involved in groups that are focusing more on working with older generations, then trying to, again, forge those links. And the members, I think there's at least 4 members of CADR that are in that group, and we learned so much from the amazing work that's going on. They really, really are an invaluable part, well, integral to that group. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about this conference so that we can look at maybe developing the work that we do, because we cover lots of different areas, and to do with, again, challenging the ideas of ageism and the really destructive, divisive narratives that can be sometimes in the media, that can dominate politics too much, kind of putting generations against one another. Whenever there's a budget or there's a crisis like the cost of living crisis, I think that the lazy narrative that will come, you'll see how, different generations, which are the winners and the losers. I mean, it's so unhelpful. And it's only when you start to notice it that you see how prevalent that kind of thing is. So that's one of the aims of the group, is to challenge that. And far more importantly, we also want to celebrate intergenerational, solidarity, the projects that exist from home share, from looking at different people across Wales, how living intergenerationally, getting in lodges almost from different generations can enrich our lives, and then essentially looking at the academic research that's happening in this area as well, from the members of CADR and beyond. That's something which is really important. If anyone in the room would like to know more about the cross-party group, please get in touch with any of the members of CADR who may at this moment be waving or maybe standing up. Please get in touch, because it would be fantastic for that group to grow even further. Now, I should have been looking at my notes. I'm getting so excited talking about the cross-party group that I'm forgetting what I'm meant to be telling you. But honestly, it's every single one of the meetings that we have. They are inspiring because we get to hear so much about the creative work that is happening. And I think that intergenerationally, that's one of the most exciting things about all of the wonderful people who are involved in that group, is that they find ways of celebrating the connection. So instead of the divisiveness, we actually have ways of bringing people together. A fantastic example of that. I was so proud that I was able to play a completely tiny part in this. That the work of CADR in this was absolutely central. There was a photography competition that we launched, and that was launched jointly between CADR and the cross-party group. And it was looking for entries of photographs that celebrated moments in time of intergenerational solidarity. And we had an exhibition in the Senedd that was able to celebrate many of the entrants to that competition, and just really the stories that we received, the photographs, they were just joyful, from groups of people walking arm in arm at the seafront in multicolour coats, women and men in their 90s and beyond cradling little babies, and the absolute delight on their faces, finding these moments, laughter over cups of tea. It was the sheer normality, the normalness of finding happiness in everyday life, in finding the sunlight on the cloudy days, that really made all of those photographs just shine with joy. And there was a calendar that was made of many of the photographs as well. And if anyone would like to see one of those, please get in touch as well. But really helping to judge that competition and play a small part in being able to see all of those stories just come to life. It was the most wonderful thing, and just being able to be part of celebrating that. I really hope that the group is able to do more of that kind of work, because there are so many bleak and troubling stories in our world at the moment. Being able to find actual moments of joy is something precious, and it's something that we should be able to find delight in. Now, CADR, as I've mentioned, has 4 members of staff that are sitting on that group, the cross-party group. We are all looking to influence change, to bring about changes in government policy, and to highlight the really fantastic work that is already happening. They are real opportunities to influence what decisions are made to actually make sure that all of those good things are brought together. If anyone in the room as well has any more ideas about what we could be focusing on, if there are any projects that you are aware of that you'd like us to be showcasing, that you'd like us to be bringing to the attention of ministers, of again, Senate members from across different parties in the Senate, please get in touch with us, because that group is made up of its members, and who knows where the next wonderful, inspiring idea will come from. That, again, is why it's so exciting that you're all meeting together, because that's where these wonderful ideas will come from. Now, there's, I know, one really innovative project that's going on through, well, Enrich Cymru, and I'm going to look at my notes to make sure that I get all the details of this right. Now, it is enabling research in care homes. It's co-hosted by CADR and the Healthcare Research Wales Support and Delivery Centre. Now, what I think is really important about the work of that project is it involves residents of care homes, it involves members of staff, it involves family members, and they are able to help shape the research in the area. Again, learning from the rather bleak experiences, really challenging experiences of COVID. If we're able to give more agency and more of a voice to everyone who lives in or visits or is part of the social makeup of care homes, that is something which, well, it isn't just useful for research, it's valuable for our society. So I think that it's projects like this that absolutely have to be showcased and celebrated.